everyone, this is Goosebumps Godzilla, and so yeah, I'm coming back with another video. This one's just kind of a simple one. Haven't really made a complete theory yet, even though it's been since November since I've made a video. But yeah, I've just been kind of busy and stuff like that. But I figured, I'd show that the channel's not completely gone and kind of just do this simplistic video, kind of celebrating the fact that I think I've got every single Goosebumps book ever made. I may not have every single one ever made, and I'm just mistaken, which would probably be kind of disappointing. But, I think I have every single one, so kind of just want to show it off, go over each individual book and my general thoughts on them and stuff like that. That's pretty much what I'm going to be doing in this video. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Also, apologies if the camera is just moving around. Instead of using my classic setup for kind of live action footage and stuff like that, I used an actual camera in the past. Right now, I'm just using my phone, so, yeah, sorry if this is not staying correctly or the audio is not that good. But anyways, so let's start off with Welcome to Dead House, the first Goosebumps book ever made. And so, yeah, this one obviously is very important because it is the first Goosebumps book. Oh, wait, you can't see that, sorry. This is the first Goosebumps book ever made and stuff like that. So I really like this book just because of that. But overall, I'm not the biggest fan of the book. The first time I read it, I didn't really like it. Upon rereading, though, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed this one. So I know a lot of people like it. I'm more of a fan of the kind of weirder, more 50s-ish kind of thing that is in Goosebumps later on in the series. This is a definitely very, very good book and a staple if you want to read Goosebumps. So next is Stay Out of the Basement. Really love this book. It's got a really great mystery to it, very suspenseful. Upon rereads, not the best, but still, really good Goosebumps book. Highly recommend. And next is Monster Blood. This one I kind of found a little boring-ish. I don't know, not really much happened with the Monster Blood other than just a series of things. Not really going to spoil it, but it's okay. I like the rest of the series. I love the rest of the series, but just this one, I don't know, it's probably one of my least favorites of the Monster Blood series. Next is Say Cheese and Die, and this one I really like a lot. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book. The sequel, not so much, but I really like Say Cheese and Die. Very, very great Goosebumps book. And so then next we have Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, which is the first Goosebumps book I ever read, so it's kind of one of my favorites just because of that. So I really like Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. And after that, there is Let's Get Invisible. Not one of my favorites. Don't really like this one that much. Kind of found it boring and repetitive. I know a lot of people really like it. I don't really like it that much, but that's just me. And so, yeah, next we have Night of the Living Dummy, which is a classic in the Goosebumps books, a staple. Yeah, I like the book okay. Not one of the best, not one of the worst, but I still like it. And so, yeah, next we have The Girl Who Cried Monster. Really good Goosebumps book. Highly recommend it if you have not read it. And, it kind of is a staple for kind of things that happen later on in the series. I know they go over kind of the same concepts seen in that book a lot. Next, we have Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Great book. The twist was a little weird in the end, but other than that, I really like this, and it's the first camp-centered book, so, the camp books are really good in Goosebumps. Highly recommend those. This is one of my all-time favorites, The Ghost Next Door, and I mainly like that because the ending, great book overall. Love this book. So, yeah, highly recommend this one. Next, we have The Haunted Mask, which is a very, very popular Goosebumps book. I like it. I like this book. Kind of like a 7 or 8 out of 10, I guess. I don't know. It's not a terrible book. It's still not one of my all-time favorites, though. I think there's better ones. This one, not the biggest fan of. Be careful what you wish for. It's okay. I mean, don't really like it the best, but it's fine. Piano Lessons Can Be Murder is also kind of one of those meh Goosebumps books for me. Not one of my all-time favorites, but not a terrible book overall. I think I like the episode better, personally, but next we have Werewolf of Fever Swamp. Now, this book I did not like, actually, reading it the first time, but the second time I actually really enjoyed it. So, Werewolf of Fever Swamp's a pretty decent book. And the mystery's pretty good as well. You Can't Scare Me. This is similar to Werewolf of Fever Swamp. Didn't really like this the first time I read it, but afterwards, when I reread it, I have very fond memories, actually, of rereading this one. Love this book upon rereading it. The First time I read it, not so much, because nothing really supernatural happens, really. But yeah. Next is One Day at Horrorland. And One Day at Horrorland is another staple Goosebumps book, so I highly recommend it for that. I loved it the first time I read it. Upon rereads, not the best. Mainly because I kind of already knew what was going to happen, I guess. So, first time reading it, though, great book. And next there is Why I'm Afraid of Bees. Why I'm Afraid of Bees is kind of a slower Goosebumps book. I kind of like the more fast-paced ones, personally. But yeah, Why I'm Afraid of Bees is a pretty decent book. Not the best, but certainly not the worst. Now, Monster Blood 2 is the second Goosebumps book I ever read, and I loved this book. Still love the book. Favorite Goosebumps villain ever. And so yeah, I really like Monster Blood 2. I have fond memories of reading it, and the villain was great. And I like pretty much all the Monster Blood books, honestly, except for maybe the first one. But next we have Deep Trouble. Deep Trouble, I kind of found a little bit disappointing due to the fact that the book's not really about a shark. It's about a mermaid. So, I don't know. I'm sorry if that's spoiled. I don't think that really spoiled it, because there's a lot of stuff that happens in there. And so next we have The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. Another kind of disappointing one for me, mainly because the cover's really cool. And in the book itself, the scarecrows are not really that threatening. And yeah, it's a decent book. It's good setting and stuff like that. I just didn't think it was that great. And I think the scarecrows were a little bit of a disappointment. But next we have Go Eat Worms, which I actually really enjoyed. Most people don't really like this one. I love Go Eat Worms. First time I read it, it was kind of meh. Second time I read it, I absolutely loved reading this one. So, yeah, I really like the book. But I do understand that the main character is not that likable. But anyways, next we have Ghost Beach. Which, yeah, it's got a cool cover, but the story itself is just kind of, it's okay. But next we have Return of the Mummy, which I was really excited to read this one because figured out it was a sequel to Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. And yeah, there's not really much mummy in here. A lot of Goosebumps mummy books don't actually have a mummy in there that often. And this one has probably the most prominent mummy of all the Mummy Goosebumps books. But yeah, it's an okay book, I guess. Next we have The Phantom of the Auditorium, which is a book I really like. I think it's very entertaining, very fun read. I mean, not that much supernatural stuff going on, but I still really enjoyed this book. I like it a lot. So, definitely one of my all-time favorites. That was one of the earlier Goosebumps books I read and stuff like that. Attack of the Mutant. Yeah, I know a lot of people like this one. I don't really like it that much. I kind of think it's slightly boring-ish. I don't know. I've struggled to reread it on multiple occasions. I don't think I've ever reread it fully. Yeah, the first time I read it, I liked it. I think the episode is way better, though. I'm personally a big fan of the episode. And that one kind of tends to be a more controversial episode. And My Hairiest Adventure. This is another one of my favorites. Altogether, not very well loved, but I thought the mystery was really good in here. Because the reveal in the end really caught me off guard. And I will say that. I found the main character very likable as well. And I think this is overall a decent book. Overall. And then A Night in Terror Tower. This is another... I'm trying to balance these books that are behind me. You know, I'm taking off the books. So I'm trying to stack them so they won't fall down. I'll have to readjust these. Anyway, sorry about that. But next we have A Night in Terror Tower. This is one of my personal favorites just because it was like the third one that I read or whatever. And I really like A Night in Terror Tower. Fun story. Kind of got the cool medieval theme going on. I don't really like rereading this one that much, but the first time you read it, I absolutely adored it. So, great book, Night in Terror Tower. Cuckoo Clock of Doom, another great book, especially because of the main protagonist's sister, Tara. She is basically one of the most entertaining pieces of this book, but I really like the concept as well. And I think overall the book's really good. And so next we have Monster Blood 3. And again, I say I love the Monster Blood books. This is definitely no exception. Really great book overall. And I would highly recommend it. It came from the Beneath the Sink. Not the best Goosebumps book. I think it's kind of neat that the main antagonist is a sponge and all. But I just didn't find this one very entertaining. It's entertaining for sure. Pretty much all the Goosebumps books are entertaining in some way, shape, or form. This one is just kind of, I don't know. I just didn't really find it that interesting and kind of boring, to be honest. But yeah. So Night of the Living Dummy 2. I prefer this over the first one. I think I do, at least. I don't know. I haven't read most of these in a little while. I definitely need to brush up on these. I've been trying to read other books as well, though. So, but yeah, Night of the Living Dummy 2, really great book overall. And Slappy's definitely, he's a great antagonist. And I think this book really made Slappy, kind of how he is. Night of the Living Dummy didn't really feature him in there that much. So I think Night of the Living Dummy 2 is definitely a very great Goosebumps book, especially if you're new to Goosebumps. Then that book's pretty much a staple. And so The Barking Ghost. The Barking Ghost, I didn't really like that much, to be honest with you. Concept's kind of neat, but I kind of wish it focused more on this evil dog. I mean, the cover's really neat and stuff like that. But, yeah, I don't know. And also, it's got a really cool piece of merchandise in this copy of the book. It's got a Goosebumps tattoo in there. So I think that's pretty cool. But, yeah, next we have The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam. This is one of my personal favorites. Really great Goosebumps book. Very fun mystery, fun villain, fun concept. I really like this one. This is definitely one of the best, if not the best, Goosebumps camp book. And so, yeah, next we have Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. I liked it. I think they could have done more a bit with the concept. I think gnomes are pretty creepy, and I think the episode is altogether better than this book. But overall, I really like this book. It's kind of got a fun mystery to it. But, it's very, very, very similar to the Night of the Living Dummy books. So if you've read the Night of the Living Dummy books, you're not really missing out on much there. But I do really like the setting and the concept and stuff like that of garden gnomes coming to life and stuff like that. Next, we have a really great cover and a really great Goosebumps book, and that is A Shocker on Shock Street. And so, yeah, I really like this cover a lot. The book itself is not horrible, but it's not really, really decent like a lot of these are. It's not mega entertaining. That's a terrible term to use, but yeah, this book, I like it. I think they could have done a bit more, but I like this Goosebumps book. Cool concept. But I just don't think the execution was that well done. The Haunted Mask 2 is... I may consider this one better on the first one. It's kind of on par. It's just kind of in the middle. It's not horrible, but it's not really good either. It's just kind of sitting in the middle, I guess. So next we have The Headless Ghost. And so I actually reread this one, I think, last year or so. And I actually really enjoyed it the first time. I don't think it's as good as the episode, though. The episode I find really great. I like the episode a lot. The book, though, it's good. It's a decent book. Not incredibly horrible, but still very decent. The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. And so this actually used to be one of my least favorite, but I've actually grown to like this one a lot more than I used to. I just kind of wish there was more monster rampage kind of thing, when the Abominable Snowman himself doesn't really appear in here that much. It's mainly like the dangers of the Arctic and stuff like that. And I don't know, I kind of wish it was kind of like a Godzilla or King Kong kind of monster wrecking havoc in the city. So that's kind of one reason I want them to do a sequel on it, just so they can, fulfill on this monster causing havoc in the city, because the cover's really great, and I don't know, that's kind of what I wanted from the story, so I was a little disappointed that I didn't really go that route. Next is How I Got My Shrunken Head. This is another one of my personal favorites from the original series, and in Goosebumps overall. I think it's got a fun adventure, kind of jungle theme going on, and I really like this. The Shrunken Head itself is not that prominent. It's prominent, but not super prominent, but I still really like this story. I think it's kind of got a fun adventure kind of theme going on, and those are kind of the Goosebumps books that I tend to prefer. Not really the scary ones, but more of the kind of funny, fun, weird, and adventurous kind of Goosebumps books. So that's one reason I really like How I Got My Shrunken Head. Night of the Living Dummy 3 is kind of the same as the second one, except there's more dummies, but they're really not in there that much. Night of the Living Dummy 3 is still very decent. I'm not big Slappy fan. I still like Slappy, of course, but I don't know. I kind of think he shouldn't have as many sequels as he has, but, you know, whatever. I like this book a lot, though. Still just not really one of my favorites, especially for Slappy books. Not one of the best. Slappy's Nightmare is 1,000 times better. But, yeah. Next is Bad Hair Day. I like this Goosebumps book. It's fun. It's just kind of in the decent range, though. Along with, there's honestly not really a Goosebumps book I dislike. Later on, we'll get to the ones that I really, really dislike. Bad Hair Day is not one of those. It's just kind of a fun Goosebumps book that I really enjoyed. And, yeah, I mean, upon rereading it, I like Amazo a lot and stuff like that, but that's pretty much it. It's a good book, don't get me wrong. But next we have Egg Monsters from Mars. And this one, I was a little disappointed by because I thought they'd kind of go into this maybe Mars invasion kind of thing. But it didn't really go that route, so I'm not the biggest fan of it. And, I don't know, the actual villain itself in there was just, I don't know. This book's very, it's kind of, I like it, but I was just kind of disappointed they didn't go more of like an alien invasion, kind of like Invasion of the Body Squeezers route, I guess. Now, next we have another one of my personal favorites, and that is The Beast from the East. I really love the villains, love the concept, kind of like this weird kind of forest they got going on. The cover's great. Overall, I really like this Goosebumps book, and it's honestly kind of, this book kind of is one of the reasons I still like Goosebumps today. And so the next book that I'm going to be going over is kind of one of the things that really, I wouldn't say turn me off, but Say Cheese and Die Again is not, I do not like this book that much. It's not really because, one thing is that the main character from the last Say Cheese and Die book did something, made a decision that was not very smart and kind of made this whole plot happen in the first place. And while that's the case, I don't know, I just didn't really like this one. I did not, honestly. It's one of my least favorites. Definitely top 5 least favorite Goosebumps books of all time. Do not recommend that one that much. It kind of turned me off from Goosebumps. Had to take a break for a little while just because I really just did not like that book that much. But Ghost Camp. Ghost Camp is fine. Not one of the best of the camp books. A lot of people like this because it's kind of got this cool kind of feel to it, which I understand, but overall, I was just kind of disappointed because most camp books are really great, like the horror at Camp Jelly Jam, and even Welcome to Camp Nightmare. This one is just not really one of my favorites. It's not bad, but it's kind of on the lower end of decent. But, yeah. How to Kill a Monster. This is one of my all-time favorites as well. Very fast-paced, very exciting, very suspenseful. I really like this story. And, yeah, that's pretty much all I'm really going to say about this. I'm trying not to spend too much time on these, but I really like How to Kill a Monster. Definitely highly recommend. You can read that in a couple of hours, honestly. And it's just kind of a fun little distraction, and I really like it. Not really a distraction, but it's an entertaining read. Very entertaining, fast-paced, like it a lot. Legend of the Lost Legend, I like a lot as well. More on the decent side, I guess, but still fun thing. The twist at the end was not the best, but it's fine. Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns. This one kind of ranks as more of my disappointing, because I don't know, I was really excited to read this, and so I kind of developed this whole plot into my head before reading it, and since it didn't follow that plot that much, I just didn't really like it that much. And so, yeah, now we have one of my favorites, Vampire Breath. Very fun story. It's one of the few Goosebumps books that goes over vampires, and I really liked it. Kind of like the new lore they added with the vampire breath and all that stuff. And the cover is really great. And so, yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites. Main characters are not the best, but they're not horrible. And so now we go to my all-time favorite Goosebumps book, Calling All Creeps. Calling All Creeps is one of my favorite Goosebumps books of all time. The cover's kind of silly, I guess. I like the cover, but the story itself is great. Highly recommend. The twist at the end you would never see coming. I really like this one a lot, actually. Very, very highly, highly recommend this one. And so now we have Beware the Snowman. Beware the Snowman is a little disappointing. They don't really go into the giant snowman thing that much. And so that's kind of my biggest complaint. A lot of my kind of lower end of the spectrum books for the original 62 Goosebumps books is largely because of expectations. I see this really cool cover, and I kind of, I just kind of think that the story should be a certain way. And when it's not, and it doesn't really include things that you see in the cover, that kind of does it. And also the book's just kind of, it's more of a slow one when I'm more of a fast-paced kind of book fan, I guess. I Live in Your Basement is kind of, it's a weird one. The cover's got this really cool monster, and while it is featured in the book, it's not featured prominently. This is kind of a psychological thriller kind of book, and so, yeah. It's a very weird one. A little too weird in some instances, but definitely kind of a psychological thriller. I know a lot of people really like this one. It's definitely got its creepy moments to it. And finally, we are at the last book in all of the Goosebumps original series, and that is Monster Blood 4. And I like this one. It's kind of fun. It's got the blue monster blood. And I like the Monster Blood books. I don't really know why people don't like Evan that much. I like Evan as the main protagonist. And I like his cousin Kermit and stuff like that. Overall, I actually like Monster Blood 4 a lot. The best one, the Monster Blood series, in my personal opinion, is Monster Blood 2. But this one definitely ranks pretty high up there. It's kind of a fun Goosebumps book that doesn't really take itself too seriously. And I like it. And those tend to be my favorite Goosebumps books. So, yeah, really like Monster Blood 4. And now, before the Goosebumps Presents books get knocked over and stuff like that, I'm just going to go over these real fast. Okay, they're falling over now. Sorry about that. But yeah, first one is The Girl Who Cried Monster. I read it, and it's very similar to the episode. So, these are books based off the episode. So, yeah. Some of these I've not read yet. I don't know. Maybe it's just because, they're based off episodes, so they're really not that. You know what I mean? There's not anything new or anything like that. But The Girl Who Cried Monster from Goosebumps Presents is definitely a very great Goosebumps book. So yeah, especially if you're a fan of The Girl Who Cried Monster. Cuckoo Clock of Doom. I think I read this one. Don't really remember that much from it. I mean, there's not really much to say. Watch the episode. If you read the book, it's kind of the same thing. Overall, Welcome to Camp Nightmare. I don't know if I've read this one or not. So, yeah. I'm not going to give anything away from it other than the fact that I just don't really know. Yeah, a lot of these I've not read, like most of these. So, yeah, I'm kind of slowly trying to read these. Right now, I'm kind of working on SlappyWorld. So, yeah. Return of the Mummy. Can't really give my thoughts on that. Same thing with Night of the Living Dumb. Wait, no, I've actually read this one, actually. So, yeah, it's very similar to the episode. So, it's fine. My Harriest Adventure, similar thing. These are all just fine. I think I've read My Harriest Adventure. And so, yeah. The covers are neat. I'll have to give it the covers. I like the covers. So, yeah. We have The Headless Ghost now. Pretty decent, I guess. I don't know. I don't think I've read this one. So, be careful what you wish for. And so, yeah. Don't really like the episode that much, but the book, I guess, may be different. I don't know. But next is Go Eat Worms. Bad Hair Day. Let's Get Invisible. Attack of the Mutant. Ghost Beach. You Can't Scare Me. Definitely one of the better covers, I think, from this series. And Monster Blood. Okay, and so these two next ones are Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns and Calling All Creeps, which I want to read this one because this is one of my favorite Goosebumps books, so yeah. And then we have the rarest book in this entire series, mainly because it advertises a book that never released, and I actually just got this one not too long ago. And that is Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. One of my favorite episodes, if not my favorite, so I would definitely like to read this one soon. And then we have It Came From Ohio and It Came From New Jersey. They're not really official Goosebumps books, but, you know, they're kind of in there. So, yeah, I've read this one. I like it pretty decent. Yeah, it's just basically about R.L. Stine's life, stuff like that. Pretty entertaining, especially if you want to learn more about R.L. Stine, stuff like that. So I would definitely recommend it. And then we have, I would say, the rarest object in my entire collection. And that is It Came From New Jersey. And real cool thing about this one is not only is it one of the rarest Goosebumps books of all time, it's also got one thing I'm really happy about, and that is Tim Jacobus's autograph. So just in case you don't know, Tim Jacobus is the guy who made all of the Goosebumps covers. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. I've also read that one, and it's pretty decent. Not terrible by any means, but yeah, it's fine. And it's also about the life of Tim Jacobus and stuff like that. So yeah, those are all of the Goosebumps Presents and stuff like that. And so yeah, next is Give Yourself Goosebumps. Yeah. Okay, so now we are starting, as I said before, Give Yourself Goosebumps. And so yeah, I haven't read too far into this series. I've read a couple of them. There's one I really love, really great fun. I have fond memories of reading that. That I read in here, and I'll get to that in a little while. But first one we have is Escape from the Carnival of Horrors, which I think overall is a pretty fun one. I like the cover a lot. This is actually the only one with Tim Jacobus doing the cover art for it, and it's definitely the best cover art of the series for sure. And so yeah, overall I really like this book. I found the, choice you make very fun and entertaining, I guess. I don't know. It's definitely not a perfect book, but I really enjoyed it. It's entertaining for sure. Not the best one in the series, though, that I've read. Next, we have TikTok, You're Dead. I've lightly read this. Didn't really get too far into it. I think it's got a cool concept, but I haven't really gotten too far into it, so I'm not really educated in it enough to give a good opinion on it. So, yeah. Next, we have Trapped in Batwing Hall. Sorry about that. I looked at the side and I thought it had something to do with vampire. But yeah, we have Trapped in Batwing Hall, which is, I don't really like this one that much. Some of the earlier Give Yourself Goosebumps books I've read, I didn't really like. I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of Trapped in Batwing Hall. I don't know. It's got a neat concept, I guess, but I don't know. Next we have The Deadly Experience of Dr. Eek. And this book is kind of similar to Trapped in Batwing Hall. It's got a coolish concept. I don't know. It was fine. Next we have Night in Werewolf Woods. And I did not like this one that much. To be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, I didn't like it. It was fine. I don't know. The endings weren't the best, though. Next, we have Trapped in the Purple Peanut Butter. And so I read this one specifically because it references Monster Blood and characters from the Monster Blood books. So I'm a big fan of the Monster Blood books, so I definitely picked this one up and read it. And overall, it's kind of a meh, to be honest with you. I'm sorry I'm doing so many mehs in this series, but I don't know. It's fine. Later we get, I think, the funner the endings are. Under the Magician's Spell. I think I read a little bit into this one. Not really far enough to give an educated opinion on, though. I'll have to re-look at it and stuff like that. Next we have The Curse of the Creeping Coffin. I actually like this one. Read a little bit into it. And I did one where, the ghost was either the ghost followed you home and stuff like that. I don't know. I kind of found that was kind of a fun one. I really like this one, actually. So definitely I would recommend it. Next, we have Night in Screaming Armor. Night in Screaming Armor, I read a little bit of because it references King Jelly Jam and stuff like that. I thought that might be useful for some theories and stuff like that. But overall, I really wouldn't recommend this one too much. It's just kind of I don't really, at least from the endings that I've read, there's not really a knight that is like some evil knight that's chasing you or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. Next we have Diary of a Mad Mummy, and I've actually read this one as well. I'm actually surprised at how many I've actually read. Diary of a Mad Mummy is The ending I read, I got a good ending, but it was fine. Yeah, it was a fine one. Next we have Deep in the Jungle of Doom. So, I really liked the concept of this one, actually. I read this one, actually, the day I got it, and because I was super excited for this one. It's got a cool cover art. It's kind of got the creature from the Black Lagoon, which is one of my favorite movies, especially favorite classic movies. And so, yeah, Deep in the Jungle of Doom is not bad at all. I like it. I think it's a fun one. Yeah, not the best, but certainly not the worst. Now we have Welcome to the Wicked Wax Museum, and I think I've read a little bit into this, not like a large portion, but I've read a little bit into this just to get some references that are in here, like the Lord High Executioner and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I like this one. It was, from what I remember, it was okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not very detailed in these, because the ones that I have read, I haven't read in a little while. Scream of the Evil Genie, I have not read, but I like the concept, or I don't think I've read this. If I have, it's very little. But I kind of like the concept of the genie coming out of a Coke can, so I'll definitely look into that one for sure. Next, we have the Creepy Creations of Professor Shock. I think I read a little bit into this, mainly to study more about Professor Shock for one of my theories. And so, yeah, I have not really read too far into it, though. From what I remember, it's just very okay. Please Don't Feed the Vampire. Now, this one's a fun one. I highly recommend Please Don't Feed the Vampire. Obviously, Fifi the Vampire Poodle's in there. The ending I got to, I was not happy with. I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending I got to, I was not very happy with. But I think it was overall a fun story, especially with a vampire poodle, which is kind of new and different. It's very Goosebumps-like, I think. So, I'm happy about that for sure. Secret Agent Grandma has a very cool concept. The cover's not the best, but I think it's got a very cool concept. Yeah. Yeah, I read a little bit into this one. It's okay. I liked it. It's on the more positive side for sure, but, you know, whatever. Little Comic Shop of Horrors. And so Little Comic Shop of Horrors is a nice book, I guess. Yeah, I'm not a big comic fan myself, so I can't really... I mean, I got some of the references that are in there, but it was okay. I remember reading this one back in, like, 2020 or so, and I don't know, it was decent. Attack of the Beastly Babysitter. Now, this one's a fun one, because it's got a really cool concept about this rat thing that's going on, and I liked this one. I liked the concept and stuff like that. I think it's fun when they actually reference one of my favorite Goosebumps books in here, so definitely have to like it for that. Really great book. Next, we have my personal favorite of all the Give Yourself Goosebumps books that I've read so far, and that is Escape from Camp Run for Your Life. This one's got the most fun endings, the most fun story. I love this one a lot. I highly recommend you read this one. This is by far leagues ahead of almost all the Give Yourself Goosebumps books that I've read. Because if you notice, most of them are kind of meh-ish. I don't know, that one is just one that I've just... That was really fun. I have fond memories of reading that one. Toy Terror Batteries Included is also another fun one. Yeah, I would recommend this for sure. I'm not going to say too much about it, honestly, but it's a good one. The Twisted Tale of Tiki Island. So, I've read through this book a bit. Haven't really gotten to an ending, I don't think. The first time I read it back in, like, 2020 or so. But I liked it overall, from what I've read. So now we have Return to the Carnival of Horrors. Return to the Carnival of Horrors. Can't really give much description on it because I don't think I think I started to read this but never finished it. I don't know, I've heard it's not as good as the original, so, you know, whatever. I'm not going to say whatever, but you know what I mean. Zapped in Space, I started reading. I do not know if I finished it or not, but yeah, Zapped in Space. From what I remember reading was pretty decent, I believe. Lost in Stink Eye Swamp. I read this one, and I actually really like this one. I highly recommend it. I remember reading this one, actually. I think it was either 2021 or 2020. And not 2020, 2021 or 2022. And I really like this one from what I remember. I remember getting a fun ending. And so, yeah, I really liked Lost in Stink Eye Swamp. There's not really plant people in there, despite what the cover shows, but you know, whatever. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. Shop Till You Drop Dead it's okay. Not overtly horrible, but definitely not bad. Most of these books are not overtly horrible, but some of them just have better endings than others. And so, yeah, I've actually read this one too. I'm honestly surprised about how many I've actually read. I didn't know I actually read this many, but Alone in Snakebite Canyon I like this one. I like the whole national park theme they have going on here. I like the concepts that they introduced. This is second best, I think. I have really fond memories of reading this one. And so next we have Checkout Time and Dead End Hotel. I have not read this one. I want to make a theory on this one, actually. So I want to definitely look into this one. I have not read it, though. Same thing with Night of 1,000 Claws. So I don't really know how good that one is or not. It doesn't look the best, I don't think. But, you know, whatever. I'm sorry I'm saying whatever a lot. That sounds like I don't care. I do care. But, yeah. Invaders from the Big Screen. Another great one. Well, not really. I don't know. I'm a big movie fan, so I read it, and I liked it, I guess. It's not really, I don't know. I haven't read it in a little while, but from what I remember, it's okay. Now we have Your Plant Food, and I read a little bit into this. I think I just remembered being okay. This one actually has plants that are evil in here, so yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to describe. Again, if you notice, most of these are just kind of mess from the one I remember, so yeah. Werewolf of Twisted Tree Lodge. I like this one. I like the werewolf things in here. One of the endings I thought was I didn't like it. I guess maybe because I got a bad ending, so that's why I don't like it. But I didn't like the ending for that. But it's fine. It's Only a Nightmare. I actually remember enjoying this one a bit. I like the concepts that are in here, and I enjoyed it overall. I think it's got a really neat concept, neat villain as well. So yeah. I think I read that. I may have just read about it in Goosebumps Wiki. I read it, for sure, I think. It came from the internet. I read a little bit into this. I don't think I ever finished it. But, yeah. From what I remember, it was decent. Not horrible, not bad, by any means. Elevator to Nowhere. I have read this one. I would recommend this one. I think this one's very fun. I like this one a lot, actually. So definitely highly recommend Elevator to Nowhere. Now we have Hocus Pocus Horror. I don't think I've read this one, so I can't really give anything on that one. And then we have Ship of Ghouls. I don't think I've read this one either, so, you know. Looks cool. It's got a shark on it. Hopefully it actually has a shark in there. Unlike Deep Trouble, but, you know. Escape from Horror House. I've not read this one either. I want to because it's got a cool cover on it, but, you know. I will definitely check that one out. Into the Twister of Terror. I've actually read this one. This one's pretty fun. Yeah, I think this one's pretty fun. I would definitely recommend reading this one. Scary Birthday to You was more of a disappointing one because it's got an evil clown in there, and I kind of was excited to read it. It was actually the first one I think I picked up, and overall, yeah, I liked it. It wasn't horrible, but Zombie School. Now, Zombie School I think I've read partially, and I just remember it not being the best. I kind of was disappointed in it, I guess, but yeah. And then Danger Time, I've not read, so I can't really give much thoughts on that. It's got a coolish cover, I guess. And then next we have All Day Nightmare. And so All Day Nightmare suffered from the fact that I read about it in Goosebumps Wiki, and then kind of the book got spoiled. And I was excited to read it because the ending sounded cool on there, but since I already knew it was going to happen, and I already knew what path I wanted to take, it kind of ruined the book for me. I think if I had not known it, I would have enjoyed it. At least the werewolf portion, which is the portion I've read. And so, yeah, that is all of the normal Give Yourself Goosebumps books. Okay, so next we have the Give Yourself Goosebumps special editions. So we're going to do Into the Jaws of Doom, which these books are kind of pretty rare. This one's not really super rare, but some of these later on are really rare. So Into the Jaws of Doom, pretty decent book overall. I don't dislike it. I think I've read a little bit into this, not enough to really form an educated opinion on it. But next we have Return to Terror Tower, which I read this a little bit. Not enough. I can't believe I haven't actually read more into this, because I really like the original. I have definitely read a little bit into this to know it's not the best Give Yourself Goosebumps book. Not horrible at all, but, it's okay. Trapped in the Circus of Fear. I've not read this, but it's got a clown in it, so I'm probably going to like it. I don't know. It may turn out like Nightmare on Clown Street, and I won't. But anyways, One Night in Pain House. I don't think I've read this one either. If so, very little. So, I don't know. I don't really want to read this one because of the dog. I mean, I will read it, and I want to read it because it's Goosebumps. But, you know what I mean. It's not on the top of my to-do list for Goosebumps, at least. Wait a minute. So, yeah, I like this one as well. Yes, I loved this one. I actually remember this one. Really cool thing. I really like this Western kind of theme that's going on, kind of like in Alone in Snakebite Canyon. So I highly recommend this one. There is some mistakes, I think, in there, though, for the ending. So you definitely should check out Goosebumps Wiki to see the correct paths to take. Revenge of the Body Squeezers. And so I remember reading this one. It's got some fun endings in there, especially if you're a fan of the original Body Squeezer books, then I would definitely recommend it. I like the original Body Squeezer books, okay. This one's decent overall. Trick or Trapped. Have not read this one. I've read Trick or Trapped, but not Trick or Trapped, so can't really give an educated opinion on that. Weekend at Poison Lake, though, I have read, and I actually really enjoyed this one. It's kind of got some fun paths to it, so I really liked it. So yeah, that's all the Give Yourself Goosebumps special editions. So real quick, I'm going to go over the top ones before going over these. So I'll go over these things at the top. Starting out with Goosebumps Graphics. So the Goosebumps Graphics books that I have is Creepy Creatures, Scary Summer, and Terror Trips. And I think I've read all three, or at least some of them from all three. Yeah, I liked the Werewolf of Fever Swamp one, actually. I like their art style with that. Oh yeah, Shocker on Shock Street's definitely a major highlight for me. And so yeah, overall I liked it. I also read Slappy's Tales of Horror, which is a compilation of three of the best ones, I think, from the series, except maybe Ghost Beach. I'm not a big Ghost Beach fan. But, is Ghost Beach in here? I don't know. But it's also got Night of the Living Dummy in there, so yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Night of the Living Dummy version, but it was okay. Now we're into the movie stuff, and so I actually have, we're not into the movie stuff. I also have, Goosebumps, How to Draw Goosebumps. So that came out, I think, with HorrorLand. It's kind of got the same stylish kind of. And it actually features some classic Goosebumps monsters that aren't really well known today, actually. So it's kind of cool since that was released in the modern time. It had Count Nightwing in there and stuff like that, so that's pretty cool. And I also have two Goosebumps activity books. One of them is not the official one, but I just kind of got it. And so, yeah, this one's pretty neat. I haven't actually done any activities in there. I may not, just so I won't ruin it. I may print it out or something. But also we have the official Goosebumps movie activity book, made for the Goosebumps film. And then Slappy's Revenge, which is just basically Slappy making jokes and stuff like that. And also we have the Goosebumps Monster Survival Guide, which I really like the survival guide because that kind of gives info about the monsters and stuff like that, or information about the monsters. And so, yeah, I really like that because of that. And it's kind of helpful for my theories, actually, as well. So, next we have Night of the Living Monsters, which is kind of a short adaptation of the movie. I don't think I've read it. I probably should, because it would take me just 10 minutes, probably. But Goosebumps movie novel. Started it, haven't finished it yet, so, you know, we'll see. I liked it so far. You know, it's just adaptation. I've read this one, and it's Slappy's Return from Goosebumps Haunted Halloween. So, yeah. After that, we have the final Goosebumps movie novel, which is Goosebumps Haunted Halloween movie novel. It's just the movie, obviously. And so, yeah. That's all that. And before we go into the Tales Give You Goosebumps series and all the things here, I might as well go over these on the bottom shelf, which you can't really see right now. But it may be rarer, actually, than... Wait, I'm sorry. This came undone. Okay. Where do you go? Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. And that is the Goosebumps Haunted Library. These things are super rare, mainly because of the fact that they were in, like, Doritos products and stuff like that, and people would just throw them away. And so now these are really expensive. And so, yeah, these are the 3 little books. I've read all 3, and I have to say the only one I really liked, actually, was not the Halloween game. Probably Don't Make Me Laugh, I think, was maybe my favorite. All the other ones, they were okay. They were just very simplistic stories. You know, they're just short stories for, you know, in Doritos products. So they're not going to be anything like, you know, some of the best Goosebumps stuff ever. But they're super rare and stuff like that. Next we have the Goosebumps Holiday Collector's Caps books and the Goosebumps Official Collector's Caps books. So yeah, it's got all the things in there. It's still actually packaged, so I do not want to open this. So I may, you know, try to read it some other path, maybe get a cheaper, you know, version. Anyways, and then now we have The Art of Goosebumps, and so this thing's actually, I think, a very wise book to invest in, because if you like to collect Goosebumps and sell them later, because I think I've heard, it's not a reliable source, it was from like some comment on a YouTube video, something like that, but they have discontinued the book because of what's it called? I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically when you copy out someone else's work. And so I think it's out of print now. So this is a very wise investment to get into, because this book costs $29.99, and I think it will increase dramatically in the future. And so, yeah, that is all the stuff I kind of wanted to get out of the way so I wouldn't cause conundrum later on. So now we have Tales Give You Goosebumps number 1, which is, yeah, Tales Give You Goosebumps number 1, and the first official appearance of Curly the Skeleton. And so, yeah, that's Curly the Skeleton, who later became the mascot of Goosebumps before being replaced by Slappy. And then we have the second Tales Give You Goosebumps book. Real fast, my thoughts on the first one. I don't really like the first one that much, to be honest with you. Most of the stories I did not really enjoy, which is kind of sad, because Click is one of my favorite Goosebumps episodes, and in the book, I didn't really like it as much. But more Tales to Give You Goosebumps. I really like this one. I think most of the stories I really enjoyed, specifically one involving a character named Tara. And so it was something about a seashell and not sea monsters, but, you know, kind of that same kind of thing. Anyways, next we have even more Tales Give You Goosebumps, which I don't really actually remember that well. It was okay, I think, overall. The second one may be my favorite. I need to look. Well, this one actually is probably my favorite. I like this book a lot. It's got a bunch of fun Halloween-centered stories. I like almost all of these, actually. Yeah, pretty much every single one of the stories in here I really enjoyed. So, definitely probably the best one of the series. This one is kind of, I think, the more forgettable one. It's just not very, I don't know. It's just very meh for me. Most of the stories in here aren't that great. So, yeah. Then we have this book, which it's got a fun collection of stories. Most of these I enjoyed. Some of them I didn't. But it was overall it was a decent collection of books. Now, these books I like 1,000 times better than the Tales Give You Goosebumps books. And that is Triple Header. These are some of my favorite books in the Goosebumps series. It's Goosebumps Triple Header Book 1. The one I personally enjoy the best. It's probably in my top 10 favorite Goosebumps books, honestly. And then there's Book 2. One of the books in Book 1, or one of the stories, I think it's Ghost Granny. That is one of my favorite Goosebumps stories. I like that one a lot. Spin the Wheel of Horror. I don't really remember that well, to be honest with you, but I really like the narrators in this one. I think they're better than Slappy is in SlappyWorld, stuff like that. I love the Goosebumps Triple Header books, so I highly recommend you get that. This is another super rare one. This is an adaptation of the stage play Screams in the Night, which was basically a Goosebumps stage play that happened during the 90s. And I like this one, actually. It's got monster blood in there, it's got Slappy in there, and it's kind of got 3 individual stories, I think, and they all center around characters and stuff like that. Not that you would know, but who are, I don't know. Okay, so there's the real-life people, and this guy's telling them a story with them being featured as protagonists. I don't know, to be fair, that was kind of confusing to me when I first read it, so, you know. That is Goosebumps Live on Stage, Screams in the Night. And now we are getting into Goosebumps Series 2000. And so, yeah, Goosebumps Series 2000 was mainly produced to basically make the series darker and more edgier. And you start out with Cry of the Cat, which I like this one. It's a very decent story. It's not a massive success by any means, but I really like this one. Definitely on the higher end of the Goosebumps Series 2000 series. Then we have Bride of the Living Dummy, which I liked. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't, you know, very bad or anything like that. I have this weird thing where I'm not the biggest fan of most of the Slappy books. There are some that I absolutely adore, probably like Slappy's Nightmare and My Best Friend Slappy, but Bride of the Living Dummy is just kind of another Slappy book, to be perfectly honest with you. And so, yeah. Then you have Creature Teacher, a highlight from this series for sure. I really like Creature Teacher. Especially, her sequel's better than the first one, but the first one's really great. Then you have Invasion of the Body Squeezers, Part 1 and Part 2. And so, yeah, bring the 2 books together to kind of form the same cover, which is kind of neat. And so, yeah, these books I really like as well. It's a little disappointing because I thought the first one was kind of boring-ish. And it had a lot of setup, and the second one was great. As Part 1 and Part 2 overall, it was fine. I'm Your Evil Twin, another great Goosebumps book. I didn't really like it the first time I read it, but upon rereading it, I really like this. Revenge Are Us is another, well, it's not another great one, actually. It's very meh. It's very similar to the Cuckoo Clock of Doom, but it's not half as great. So, it's kind of a mix of Cuckoo Clock of Doom and Be Careful What You Wish For, honestly. So then we have Fright Camp. I like this one mainly due to the concept. Is the story itself really decent? No. But the concept, I really like the concept. So definitely higher up on the series. Are You Terrified? Yet I did not like that much because nothing supernatural happens. And the main character's, well, he's fine. I like the main character. He's likable. But I don't know. I just didn't really like this one that much. Headless Halloween, I did not like the first time. Upon rereading it, I actually pretty enjoyed this one. Sure, the main character's not that likable, but, you know, I liked him. Overall, I mean, I'm not bothered if the main character's not, like, if he's mean or he's a bully or something like that. I'm not really bothered by that. But, anyways, Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls. It's super dark, I'll tell you that. But it's not really great. I kind of thought it'd be more zombie-centered, but it wasn't. So, you know. Brain Juice. Underrated in the Series 2000 series. And I like Brain Juice a lot. Very fun story. It's kind of my kind of story. I like the more weirder Goosebumps books and stuff like that. And this definitely ranks on there as one of the weirder ones. So, yeah, I definitely recommend this one. And then Return to Horrorland was just kind of a disappointment. I don't really remember it that well, so it's not overtly bad. But it's not really decent either. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. Jekyll and Heidi. I did not really like this one. I kind of hoped it would go more of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde route. And while it did subvert my expectations, I didn't really like it. It kind of went to a more other route, which I didn't really like that much. And the ending was kind of anticlimactic, so I didn't really like that one that much. There's definitely some good parts to it, but overall, nah. Scream School is kind of one people don't really talk about that much. And I like this one. Sure, there's no supernatural occurrences, but it was good. It was a good book. I liked it. The Mummy Walks suffers from, again, a lot of things with Goosebumps mummy books is that they don't really feature mummies that often. And this one doesn't even have an actual mummy in there. So it's just kind of... I mean, it's got an actual mummy, but, you know, it's not the mummies coming to life and stuff like that and taking revenge. So, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this book. Werewolf in the Living Room I liked, but it's not super high up there. It's just kind of meh, decent kind of thing. I like the cover, though. I think the cover's really great. And then next we have The Horrors of the Black Ring, which is... I like this one. It kind of reminds me of another Goosebumps book, but I like it. The cover's cool, and overall, it's not terrible, and I found it very entertaining. Basically on the higher end of decent. Return to Ghost Camp, I also liked as well. Very not similar to the original one, and kind of different in its own way. The cover is creepy for sure. And yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts on it. It's very meh and okay, I guess. Then there's Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid. And yeah, I was kind of disappointed with this. The dragon was barely in the book, so that's kind of my biggest complaint with it, because it's got a really cool cover on it. But other than that, yeah, the book's not that great. The Haunted Car, I like this one a lot. I have fond memories of last time I reread it. And I have fun times the first time I reread it. So, I really like The Haunted Car. So, Full Moon Fever is probably the worst book in this whole series. Full Moon Fever, it took me months to read this one. Just because how kind of bland and uninteresting it is. It's not really your classic werewolf story. And I just didn't really like it. It's not good, honestly. And it just kind of goes in weird routes, to be honest with you. Slappy's Nightmare is a highlight of Goosebumps Series 2000. Really great Goosebumps book. Highly recommend. Probably one of the best Slappy books. Earth Geeks Must Go. I like the weird Goosebumps books, but this one is just kind of too weird. I guess is the correct word. It was okay. It wasn't terrible by any means. Then Ghost on the Mirror is just kind of forgettable. It's the last Goosebumps book in Series 2000. And it is the last Goosebumps book to release until like 2005 or so, or the early 2000s. Well, this book released in 2000, and pretty much after that, Goosebumps was on a hiatus for a little while. And so, yeah, I have to organize these books I just wrote down now. And so now we are moving on to HorrorLand. Now, HorrorLand is one of my personal favorites of the Goosebumps series, largely due to the fact that they kind of have a connected story. And while, you know, the anthology is kind of one of the cool things about Goosebumps, I'm really glad they did kind of a connected story. And it's really interesting that they bring back a lot of kind of the older monsters and stuff like that people really like. And of course, they're starting out with Slappy Book. And this one's actually one of the better Slappy books. While it doesn't do anything new with the formula, I feel like I like the main character better than most of them. And I don't know, I liked Revenge of the Living Dummy a lot. Creep from the Deep is kind of... I liked this one. It's got a cool villain in it, but I think they could have done better with the concept. But other than that, it's cool to see some of the original 62 people coming back, stuff like that. And then you have Monster Blood for Breakfast. Monster Blood for Breakfast is another Monster Blood book. Probably one of my least favorites of the Monster Blood things. It's still entertaining, and definitely Monster Blood is my favorite of the series within a series kind of thing for Goosebumps. But it's not as good as some of the other ones. Scream of the Haunted Mask brings back Carly Beth, and she's one of the more well-loved Goosebumps characters. And I like this one. I may like this one actually better than the first original Haunted Mask, so I like this one. Dr. Maniac versus Robbie Shorts. Or Skort? I don't know. This is... I don't know if it's the best of Horrorland, but it's definitely top 3 for sure. I like this one. It's a debut of Dr. Maniac. It's kind of a modern classic for the Goosebumps monsters, and I like Dr. Maniac a lot. I like a lot of the characters in here, and the main character is very likable. My only issue is a twist ending for that one. Who's Your Mummy suffers from the same thing with a lot of mummy books. It doesn't really display a mummy that often. And it kind of reminds me of a Series 2000 Goosebumps book. And yeah, overall, it's not bad, but it is very forgettable. I'll say that. Like, when I read this book, My Friends Call Me Monster, I kind of forgot about the character from Who's Your Mummy, because when they have the connected part later. My Friends Call Me Monster, this is a fun one. Kind of fun alien invasion, 50s kind of thing. And I like that one a lot. Say Cheese and Die Screaming. I like this one as well. I really like this one, actually, a lot. I don't know if it's better than the first one. Definitely better than the second one, though. Camp Slither is just a forgettable one. I mean, it's a fun story, but it's just very forgettable. Like, last time I reread it, I completely forgot everything that happened. So, Help, We Have Strange Powers. This one I really like. This one is definitely one of the best of Goosebumps series, Goosebumps Horrorland. Then to finish up the first half of the Goosebumps Horrorland series, we have Escape from Horrorland, which is kind of the Infinity War / kind of close to finale kind of movie. Or not movie, but book. And then Streets of Panic Park. Both of which are decent. I don't know. They're not as good as the other series, Horrorland books. But they serve as great conclusions, so, you know, that's definitely a positive. And they bring back another classic Goosebumps character. So, yeah, that is Horrorland, at least the first part of it. So, yeah. Okay, and so now we're going to start on the second phase of Goosebumps Horrorland with Where the Ghost Dog Howls. And so Where the Ghost Dog Howls is definitely a very decent book. Highly recommend this one. Honestly, almost the entirety of the Horrorland series I really enjoy. Little Shop of Hamsters, same thing as Where the Ghost Dog Howls. Highly recommend this one. I love this book. It's kind of fun. It's kind of weird. Stuff like that. Heads You Lose is more of a mediocre one. Not great, but not horrible. So, you know, it's okay. Kind of forgettable, to be honest with you. And now we are at my least favorite Goosebumps book ever made. And that is Weirdo Halloween. Mainly because the antagonist is very annoying. And I just do not like Weirdo Halloween at all. I do not recommend this one. If you read all the Goosebumps books and you want to, read it, but it's not good, in my personal opinion. And the sad part is, it's a special edition. And it's the only special edition in all of Goosebumps Horrorland, which is one of my favorite spin-off series, if not my favorite. Then you have Wizard of Ooze, which I do not really like at all. It's kind of a mediocre one, kind of forgettable, blandish kind of thing for me. Then you have Slappy New Year, and I actually really like this one. It's kind of one of the funner of the Slappy books. I don't know, I really like Slappy New Year. And then we get into the Horror at Chiller House, and I like the Horror at Chiller House as well. Kind of a conclusion to the Goosebumps series, and Chiller is a very great antagonist. And yeah, I enjoy this book. Yeah, and so anyway, guys, we're going to go into Hall of Horrors now with Claws. And so Hall of Horrors is actually a decent series. Most of the books are kind of mediocre. They're not bad, but they're not really, really great. There's one that I really like, but Claws is a decent story. Not horrible, not bad by any means. It's just okay. I didn't really like the ending when everything was revealed, what's going on. I don't know, I just didn't like it. Night of the Giant Everything. I like this book. It wasn't bad. It wasn't very great either. I kind of wish they went a certain route with the story that they didn't go. So, yeah, I kind of wish the piano teacher was the bad guy. Anyways, the 5 Masks of Dr. Scream is a special edition from the series. While it's got a pretty original plot and all,
I just kind of found this one a little forgettable, to be honest with you. I kind of forgot a lot of things that happened in there upon looking at it on Goosebumps Wiki and all. Then we have Why I Quit Zombie School, which has a lot of, let's just say, I wouldn't say disturbing, but like gory. Very, very detailed on the gore that happens in this book. It's very gory. It's not like it's inappropriate or anything like that. Not, you know what I mean. It's not like bloody and all that stuff. It's just kind of gross. So I don't really like it. This is my least favorite book in Hall of Horrors. Don't Scream. I do not like this book at all, to be honest with you. The main antagonist is just kind of, in my personal opinion, annoying. So I don't really like that one at all, to be honest with you. Then there's my favorite book, and I actually really like this one, and that is Birthday Party of No Return. And I really like this one. I kind of like this whole competition thing that's going on. The whole birthday party thing does not happen at all. I mean, it's in there for a scene, but like, do not think this is a very birthday-oriented book. To be honest, it's more summer kind of oriented kind of thing. So yeah, I like the Birthday Party of No Return. It's not a bad book. I actually really enjoy this one. Probably my favorite of the series. Kind of wish they would make a sequel to that, but I really like that one. Then we have Goosebumps Wanted, The Haunted Mask. So this one's kind of well liked by a lot because of specifically my Goosebumps fan, mainly because of the fact that it's very descriptive, especially in the beginning part. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it was entertaining for sure. Almost all the Goosebumps books are entertaining. The only one that really wasn't would probably be Say Cheese and Die Again and Weirdo Halloween. Those are the only ones that really aren't entertaining. This one's entertaining. It's fun. It's kind of got a cool story to it. That's pretty much all I really say to it. After that, though, we are getting into Most Wanted. This is another one of my favorites. I don't like the Most Wanted special editions that much, but I do like the main series Most Wanted. I like this one, Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. I didn't really like it the first time, but upon rereading it, I actually found this one to be kind of fun, stuff like that. It's not very similar to Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. Completely different, and it's kind of got a weird twist ending in the end, but overall, it's fine. Son of Slappy, this is my least favorite one from this series. I don't know. It's just too dark, in my personal opinion. It just felt very dark, and I don't know. I didn't have fun reading it. It was just very, I don't want to say dark again, but that's pretty much what it was. It was this kid who's like originally like just this perfect, nice kid who's getting like, his life is getting ruined, and there's like no fixing it. And it's, I don't know, I don't like it. How I Met My Monster, this is probably my favorite of the series. I love this one, it's very fun. Kind of similar to The Girl Who Cried Monster in a lot of ways, but I found this one very enjoyable to read. It's just fun, funny. I like this one, How I Met My Monster. Kind of got a good mystery to it. So yeah, Frankenstein's Dog is a little disappointing due to the cover not really actually showing who the main bad guy is. You think it's Frankenstein's dog, who's kind of got stitched up and stuff like that, but the dog in there is a normal dog, and he's not even the main antagonist. So yeah, I don't really like this book, Frankenstein's Dog. But yeah, next we have Dr. Maniac Will See Now. First time I read this, didn't really like it too much. Second time I read it, I had a blast reading it. It's pretty fun. I like the main character in there. Kind of think his family's funny and stuff like that. So yeah, I really like Dr. Maniac Will See You Now. Definitely recommend that one. Creature Teacher Final Exam is a close second for Goosebumps Most Wanted. I really like this one a lot. It's got a fun camp theme. It's not my favorite camp book compared to Jelly Jam, but it's definitely in top 3. I love this one a lot. I prefer it over the first Creature Teacher, to be honest with you. Then we have Nightmare on Clown Street. And Nightmare on Clown Street is disappointing because clowns are really scary in my personal opinion. And so the fact that they weren't really utilized at all in this book is just, I don't know. I didn't really like that. That's my biggest problem probably with Most Wanted, is a lot of the books that I didn't really like kind of had this character on the cover that I think would make a cool villain. And then they just kind of cheat you and basically have a different villain. It's a situation in Nightmare on Clown Street. Murder the Clown is not the bad guy. And it's kind of disappointing, especially since he's in the Goosebumps movie and is a bad guy. Then you have Night of the Puppet People, which I really enjoyed. I've tried to reread it, and I didn't really like it upon rereading it as much as I did the first time, but I loved reading this the first time, especially the prologue. So then we have Here Comes the Shaggedy, which I was a little disappointed because I wanted more swamp monster kind of thing, maybe similar to How to Kill a Monster. And it wasn't really like that. And I also kind of wish it, but the cover is really great. This is probably Brandon Dorman's best cover for Goosebumps. Yeah, I'm kind of sad that he's not doing it anymore. He wasn't as good as Tim Jacobus, I don't think, but he had really great covers. And so, yeah, this is definitely one of his best ones. And it's just kind of disappointing that the Shaggedy's not really featured prominently. Then we have the last normal Goosebumps Most Wanted book, and that is The Lizard of Oz, which overall, it's not a bad book. I liked it. I enjoyed reading it. I had fun. So it pretty much checks all the boxes. It's just one and the same. If you've read How I Met My Monster or maybe The Girl Who Cried Monster or something like that, you're not really missing out on much. So yeah, that's probably my biggest complaint. It's just kind of a rehash of some other Goosebumps books. And so yeah, now we are going to the Most Wanted Special Edition, starting with Zombie Halloween. I liked Zombie Halloween, specifically the prologue, and the rest of the book's really great. The best one of the special editions for Most Wanted, for sure. No doubt, for sure. 12 Screams of Christmas is okay. Yeah, I liked it. I did a whole review, actually, on this one. It's probably one of the only reviews I have on the channel. But I like this one. It's okay. Not horrible. Not the best by any means, but it has some good moments in there. Trick or Trap, I do not like. Largely due to the fact that I found the main characters kind of annoying, to be honest with you. And there wasn't really any great villain that I could speak of, and overall the concept of the story was just, I felt the story was very disjointed. Then you have The Haunter, which is essentially what's it called, the 5th book in SlappyWorld, Escape from Shutter Mansion. It's pretty much that. I didn't really like it, especially the latter parts of the story. It was just kind of, I don't know, I didn't like it that much. It was just, it felt like a story you've already read before, especially if you've read Escape from Shutter Mansion. Oh, sorry about that, my finger is in the way. So yeah, now we are into SlappyWorld, which is our latest series. And so we're going to start with Slappy Birthday to You, which I liked. It's a fun Slappy book. I mean, it's not entirely original for sure. It's kind of, kind of has the same formula as the previous ones, but I like it. Attack of the Jack has a fun concept. I like the pirate theme. I kind of wish they went more with the pirate theme than they did. But yeah, it was overall okay. The talking cat was a little weird. I'm not going to spoil. Oh, I'm sorry if that's spoiled. But anyways, there's I Am Slappy's Evil Twin, which I did not like this book. Prologue was cool because it kind of gave a bit of lore to Slappy and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it. And then you have Please Don't Feed the Weirdo, which was overall okay. Not horrible, not a masterpiece. It's just okay. Escape from Shutter Mansion is very similar to The Haunter. Very, very similar. And I liked the book. I just kind of wish that the book was longer. I know it's a Goosebumps book, so it's only going to be like 120 pages long and stuff like that, but I don't know. By the time you got to the main action, there was so much buildup. By the time you got to the actual main action of the story, they didn't really have enough room to finish it. I felt like it just kind of felt, the ending kind of felt like a cop-out, to be honest with you. So, yeah, that's probably my biggest complaint. The Ghost of Slappy, it's, first time I read it, I couldn't even finish it. But then the second time I read it, I thought it was pretty good. So, I guess. It's entertaining. I'll give you that. It's Alive. Is a lot of people really like this one? I don't really like it that much. But, to each his own, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to be overly critical because it was a fun story. The Dummy Meets the Mummy is a great Goosebumps book. I don't know if it's my favorite from SlappyWorld, but definitely very high up there. I like The Dummy Meets the Mummy a lot. Kind of like this whole versus thing they got going on. I find that very fun and original. I kind of wish they would continue that maybe a bit more in the future, because I kind of thought the fighting between a dummy and a mummy was kind of cool and stuff like that. This is actually one of the few Goosebumps books that has a mummy in there where it's actually featured prominently, like within the first couple of chapters. So, really great. The mummy in here is super powerful in here as well. And so, yeah, overall, I really like that one. Revenge of the Invisible Boy. It's kind of a similar situation to My Best Friend is Invisible. The Invisible Boy, it was okay. I didn't really like it that much. So, yeah. That's pretty much my thoughts on that. Diary of a Dummy. This is not my least favorite book. That comes to a book later on, but I definitely did not like this book at all. Not at all, but there were some positive moments, but I didn't really like this one that much. So now we are at They Call Me the Night Howler, which actually marks the return of Dr. Maniac, so that's fun. But other than that, there's not really too much to say about it. I liked it. Again, if I seem too overly negative and say, oh, it's okay, or whatever, stuff like that, doesn't mean I didn't like it. I found it very, very entertaining and stuff like that. All the Goosebumps books, except for a few exceptions, are very entertaining. So definitely read it. It's fun, along with almost all the Goosebumps books, but it's not a huge standout, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. That's what I say when I say meh. Doesn't mean it's bad by any means, but it's not a masterpiece. My Friend Slappy is one of the better books of Slappy, I feel like. I really like this one. Yeah, I like this one. Possibly, it's around the same tier as Slappy's Nightmare. So, again, definitely one of the better Slappy books. Monster Blood is back. I was super excited to read this one. And honestly, I wasn't that disappointed. I liked it. I kind of wish they went more with the Monster Blood route instead of the food competition, because they pretty much, Monster Blood was barely in here. My biggest complaint was the twist in the end. I did not like the twist in the end at all. It kind of ruined the book, honestly. It was fun. I liked it. It was entertaining. I loved it, actually. It's just the twist. 5th Grade Zombies. I was super excited for this one. Considering it was a zombie book and stuff like that. And I'm not a big zombie fan, but the cover looked neat. And I think it would be pretty neat as well. But overall, 5th Grade Zombies I didn't really like. I liked it. I actually have a review on that one as well. It was just okay. I was largely just disappointed by it than anything. And so this book, I think, is the best of SlappyWorld, to be honest with you. And that is Judy and the Beast. This is a fun mystery. I really like this one. I accidentally kind of spoiled the book for myself because I was flipping through the pages and it revealed who the Beast was. So it kind of ruined the mystery for me. But I really like this one. I like the setting. I like the characters. And yeah, this is my favorite of the SlappyWorld, for sure. Then comes my least favorite of SlappyWorld, Slappy in Dreamland. I was excited for this one because it would be a cool concept and it kind of changed up the formula of Slappy, I thought, but it really didn't. The concept was not utilized at all. Slappy was not threatening, and he was pretty much doing his usual thing. And I don't really know why in the book they have to figure out how to defeat Slappy before he becomes a Dream Master. I don't even know if that's mentioned in the story. I did not like this one. I do not really recommend it. Sure, it's entertaining and all, but at the end of the day, it's just a lesser Slappy book, to be honest with you. Again, they could have utilized the concept very well, and they just didn't. I just felt like this story kind of fell flat, to be honest with you. Haunting with the Stars. I think it has kind of a fun concept. I like the concept, and the story itself is kind of neat. But, I don't know, it's very okay, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't that good either. It was just very, Then you have Night of the Squawker. And so I actually started this one and got about maybe halfway, but I haven't finished it. Largely because of the fact that I don't really like the main protagonist. The main protagonist I just didn't like, and I kind of feel bad I just didn't finish it. I will finish it, don't worry. My main goal is to read every single Goosebumps book ever made, so I will read this. I just don't really like it. Then, next we have Slappy Beware, and I'm sorry I kind of got that out of order. It was Slappy Beware and then Night of the Squawker, but I kind of have this separated off since it's a special edition from SlappyWorld. And so, yeah. Overall, I was kind of disappointed in this book. It's got a cool cover art, and I like it how it's kind of like, it's a special edition, and it really made it feel like a very special edition. It was one of the first Goosebumps books to have hardback. It kind of delves into Slappy's origin, and kind of tease that it might be, I don't think it teased really, but yeah, my biggest issue with the book is probably the fact of, I didn't really like the origin section that much. It was okay. I mean, I didn't really like the origin section. And then when you get to the actual story itself, I mean, it's just Slappy trying to do the wrong thing. And I know you read that in the summary, but they kind of made it out like the family that he's with is like basically immune to Slappy's evil in a way. Like they're just so happy all the time. I kind of wanted them to be just this kind of weird family that was always happy no matter what. You know what I mean? Just like, I don't know, very cheesy family, I guess. I don't know. And they would just always view things as positive no matter what. And I kind of thought that'd be kind of a funny story and stuff like that. Instead, the family's just kind of average, normal, and Slappy just is trying to do the wrong thing throughout. And then the conclusion wasn't really much of a conclusion. They kind of just, pretty much all Slappy's goals in the story were pretty much for naught. So, yeah, I didn't really like that. And the one book I'm actually working on right now, and it's the last Goosebumps book I'm going to be going over, except for some other stuff, and that is Fright Night. And so far, I don't know if I'm halfway, I'm getting close to halfway at least, with Fright Night, and I really like this one so far. I like the concept, and I kind of like it how it's different from Creature Teacher. I kind of figured it'd be much of the same as Creature Teacher, but it's very different, and I like it so far. So yeah, kind of a unique Goosebumps book that I really highly recommend. So far, at least. It may end completely bad, but anyways. So yeah, that's every Goosebumps book ever made, I think. And so yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing today for this video. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. So yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. I may be doing theories in the future. Not really sure about that. I may not. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but anyways, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And so, yeah.